Welcome, everyone. The talk will be in English because we have an English-speaking guest. Tonight we have Caterina Felice, which is whom is an Italian designer of many backgrounds. She has worked in diversified fields such as set design, costume design, and textile design. She has also worked as a consultant for the United Nations Organization for Industrial Development, particularly on the project Creative Mediterranean. So we'd like to welcome Caterina.
Thank you. Hello, good evening. Thank you. I want to say. Oh, okay. Hello, thank you for coming. And thank you for Amman Design Week for having me here for the second year. It's an honor for me from Italy to come here in Amman. And today I'm happy, I'm glad that I have the opportunity to talk here about a subject that it's very important for me as a fashion designer. Oh, thank you. Great. As a fashion designer, which is sustainability into the fashion industry. And I have to say at the beginning that this interest has grown here in Jordan. I mean, when I came here for the first time in 2015 to follow up a UN project, it was the first time for me in Middle East, in Jordan, in Amman, and so it was very everything was completely new. And the first thing, not the first thing, but I immediately fell in love with Jordan, but the second thing I noticed, it's the amount of waste that you can see around here, maybe on the street, no? And when I came back to Italy, I started thinking more about this issue because I always did research about sustainability in textile, in sources, no? So how the fabrics are produced and how they impact the environment and economical condition. But I had never thought so much about waste. So what I thought in Italy is that actually in Italy, Europe, we have the same amount of waste. Probably we have more, but it's hidden, no? Maybe here you can see it and we hid and we cannot see. But I started thinking more about that, relating to the fashion industry and the production of garments. And as a designer, as a fashion designer, you have to visit fairs, go to shops, retails, do research. And this year I was a bit full of garments, images. I was wondering, when you see thousands of garments, thousands, but do we really need all these garments? And then the second question was, where do the unsold garments end? So I did a few researches, and at the same time I started working on project in Italy on fashion and sustainability. So what I would like to talk with you today in a very rough, a wide overview is what actually is going on fashion worldwide about sustainability and waste. And I don't know if you know, but the fashion industry is the most environmental impacting industry worldwide after oil industry. And sorry, I'm going to read, so I'm sure that I will say everything in the time I have. The way fashion is produced and consumed has been dramatically scaled and sped up in the last 20, 30 years. And projections are saying that it's going to double by 2030. 15 years ago, the Japanese fashion designer Issei Miyake stated, "To change every 6 months is crazy. It's designer suicide." In light of where we now are with the pace of the industry, the statement seems hopelessly nostalgic. 6 months have become 2 or 3 at best, with virtually no time for deep research and development when we talk about design. And this is a big problem for our planet. Almost 150 million tons of clothing and shoes are sold worldwide every year. The majority of this ends up in landfills or incinerated instead of being reused or recycled, wasting valuable resources and causing harm to the environment. By one recent estimate, a third of all clothing is sold at full price, 1/3 at discount, and 1/3 is never sold. It is incinerated or sent to landfill. What recent research are saying is that each year, hundreds of kilometers of new fabrics burns before being made into garments. And this is an image, the one you can see here, of the bulks of garments that we have all around the world. All around USA, Europe, all around the world, also here, of course. Our clothes have a devastating environmental impact. The chemicals used to grow, dye, launder, and treat our clothes end up polluting rivers. A huge amount of water is used to produce garments through growing cotton and through wet processing, such as dyeing and laundering. And finally, clothing accounts for 3% of global production of CO emissions, according to the Carbon Trust. And meanwhile, what happened? That artisanal and heritage craft industries are being eroded, due in large part to mass manufacturing and partly as a result of second-hand cloth flooding local markets. We risk losing ancient techniques that have been passed down through generations in communities around the world. Most worryingly, fashion's wastes include the wasting of human lives, abuse of human rights and dignity, lack of safe working conditions, and gender equality. So, what I say, but much more important, what movements worldwide are saying is that there is something not working in this kind of system. This model is insane. It is necessary to call for responsibility in fashion. I would say that we don't need more fashion designers or fashion design schools, but however, we do need a reimagining of what fashion design is. And we empower our students newly to be prepared for unimaged opportunities and challenges. We have to change a lot as designers and as customers. To create something is an intellectual effort. An intellectual effort takes time. Real creativity in fashion design is an intellectual effort, first and foremost, and it requires rigorous practice and time. It also requires time for reflection and contemplation. As De Castro notes, De Castro is one of the person who created a movement called Fashion Revolution in UK after what happened in 2013 in Bangladesh, where the factory collapsed, causing more than 100 of dead people. So she notes, time has now been almost eradicated from the fashion language in one carefully orchestrated statement, from fast to faster. We have to discover again the value of time. So, what is good about fashion? As it seems to be so grotesque, wasteful, deadly. It is an important question to ask, and one that I ask myself regularly. My students, I used to teach also in Italy fashion design. My students ask different questions of it constantly, which causes me to be optimistic for the future of our planet. There are no simple answers. Interrogating the question nonetheless reveals useful path for further inquiry. We must embrace fashion business at all scales. It is lazy to dismiss small business, as we have here in Jordan, a lot, and not having impact, when much of sustainability innovation occurs in small business. Collectively, small fashion businesses make up a powerful global force, and they are as essential to a resilient fashion system as larger businesses. So it's not only about change the fashion calendar and slower it. It's not only this issue. The issue is very complex. But what is very important, not only for me, is what all these movements around the world are saying, is that we need a new vision, something radically new. And we have to add these visions with global action. And the first thing is to start from valuing the waste processes. So let's talk about the waste. Whoa. This is what all of us have been producing. We are producing all around the world. And the question probably is it possible living with all this garbage around us? Probably yes, because this guy is living there. But of course, it's not sane. There's something wrong. Today, humankind produces 2.1 billion tons of waste per year. In terms of annual ecological footprint, the world's population already produces more than 1.6 times what the Earth can absorb in the same time frame. Assuming today's current solid waste during production and at end of use, the industry's waste will increase by about 60% between 2015 and 2030, with an additional new 57 million tons of waste generated annually. This brings the total level of fashion waste in 2030 to almost 150 million tons, equivalent to annual waste of almost 20 kilo per capita across the planet. So, what we can say is that the traditional linear supply chain based on the take, make, waste business model is unsustainable. What many associations and movements worldwide believe is that the whole fashion industry needs a radical paradigm shift, and that the way we produce and consume clothes needs to be transformed. However, one good thing is that in the past decade, awareness is growing, and individually companies are optimizing business practices to limit their negative impact. The power to tip the scale lies also with consumers, all of us, which studies show are far more sensitive to environmental, social and ethical concerns than those of previous decades. First sight, fashion brands are joining forces with consumers in a long-term push for better practices and transparency in the value chain. And through education, information, and incentives, consumers can gradually change their habits in consuming fashion to reduce their own footprint. We have to say that, I don't know if you know, but there are anyway many fashion brands now aware of their impact and ready to engage further, but it's not enough. And there are anyway like big brands, also luxury brands working on sustainability, like the Caring Group, which is the owner of luxury brands like Stella McCartney. And but what we can see is that not only the luxury brands are moving toward more sustainable practices, but also fast fashion brands like H&M, Mango, Zara. It means that the trend worldwide toward a more sustainable fashion system, it's something that is going to produce also business. Because what I used to say every time is that it's good that H&M is going to buy ecological cotton and doing sustainable capsule, okay, but what I believe is that if they do that, I don't know if they do that because they really care about the environment, but probably is because they see business there, which is good, Because the important thing is the way they act, and if sustainability is going to become a business, it means that there are people like us, customers, that are changing the way they relate with garments and consumptions. So it's very interesting to see all this movement all around the world of different kinds of companies, small, medium, and large. And then there are several awards and fair for sustainability. Really, during the last 15 years, the things had moved a lot. And it's good. It's not enough, but it's very good. And so what? We have to act differently. And now, and of course, sustainability is very complex, because when we talk about sustainability, we talk about the source, the fabrics, the textile, the way they are produced, the way they grow up with chemicals, the way they are about the transportation, about worker conditions, about economical impact, social conditions, gender equality, and waste, no? So it's very complex. And so far, it's impossible to reach a sustainable company 100%, no? A sustainable chain 100%, it's very difficult. But of course, we have to start. And that's one very important movement, which is called, I was mentioning it before, fashion revolution, which is pushing on institutions all around the world and on brands to make their chains more transparent. And it is something that us as customers, we should pretend, we should ask for. And so, as a designer, I was wondering, so what can I do as a designer? Actually, I'm not interested in just designing new garments. Why? It's full, okay, we can do, make nice garments. Okay, it's nice, but which is the point? Which is the meaning? So, as designers, I think we have a big responsibility inside this process. We have to start thinking in a different way. We have to rethink our design approach to open new challenging opportunities and directions. So we need a new model. I'm not the first to talk about it, of course. Not at all. And there are really lots of young designers all over the world working in this direction, doing researches and experiments to understand how we can produce something maybe without producing anything new. Because why don't we start from all these waste that we have, which is actually something is new, all the unsold fabrics. The companies, they have storage full of unsold new fabrics. And it's a waste. It's a waste of human resources, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy. And so, one idea is to start from all this waste and do something with it. And do something which is not only ethical, but also nice, good, beautiful. We need beauty. We don't need any more ethical garments, ugly. Because we don't have to wear in an ugly way only because we want to be ethical. No? And luxury brands, not only luxury brands are demonstrating that, but also young designers. I have some images after. So, what researchers are talking about is a new model, a circular economy. The current fashion system encourages a take, make, dispose system, a linear system. A system where we take the raw materials we need, mix them with chemicals, sell them to our customers, and never think about them again. And then we find everything around us. Can we really accept business models like this anymore? The circular economy refers to an industrial economy that is restorative by intention, aims to rely on renewable energy, minimize, tracks and eliminates the use of toxic chemicals, and eradicates waste through careful design. This is a quote by Ellen MacArthur, which is the first, one of the first person that used for the first time this expression of circular economy in 2014. So it's something quite recent. So according her, circular fashion can be defined as clothes, shoes, or accessories that are designed, sourced, produced, and provided with the intention to be used and circulate responsibly and efficiently in society for as long as possible in their most valuable form, and hereafter return safely to the biosphere when no longer of human use. In other words, fashion products should be designed with high longevity, resource efficiently, no toxicity, biodegradability, recyclability, and good ethics in mind. A lot of things. If we start with one or two, it's good, okay, anyway.
Caterina, can we ask questions while you speak, or would you
Yes,
like?
yes, why not?
So you are talking from the perspective of a designer, but how, or what's your recommendation on how would you kind of create awareness from the consumer side to start to actually look into this industry and start buying from ethical fashion, and because it's more expensive. So how can you convince the people, especially in developing countries such as Jordan?
That's a problem. That's a good question. It's a big issue because this kind of system, fashion industry, has during the last 20 years brought us to spend less and less and less for garments and buying more. But this kind of system, unfortunately, is affecting, first of all, people. Because the resources, the cost of resources are growing up. But the labor cost is going down. So, and this kind of system, it's insane. I know you are right. Also me, I cannot afford sometimes a sustainable garment. But now, because most of the sustainable garments now are inside this kind of system. Because I'm working now in Italy on a program called Fashion Action. It's a high professional program for designers. It's a project created by the Italian fashion designer Rossana Diana. And she's very involved in sustainability inside the Italian system. And what she's trying to do is to create inside the Italian chain, industry chain, production chain, a more sustainable chain starting from the use of waste fabrics. The fabrics that Italian companies have already in their storage. All these fabrics, for instance, are very high quality. We know Italians, but as they are in the stock, it's possible to have them with a price which is around the 70% lower than was at the beginning. So it's what it is needed, and it's not something that we can do from one day to another, is to work on the same contemporary, at the same time, on different aspects. So companies, industry should start changing the model. Of course, if we continue producing garments that we know we want to throw away after 3 months, of course, this kind of system will increase. But if we start producing garments as we used to do in the past, with more attention, good quality, sometimes now, you know what? The problem is that now we associate sometimes the good quality to a higher price. Of course, it's higher than what we spend now. But the problem now, as customers, we are not anymore trained or willing to pay a bit more for a garment. And I recognize I do the same. I mean, I'm trying to change the way I relate my garments. No, because if I buy less I spend more, but I buy something that I will keep with me year after years. And then as designers, we can also then transform it. And then, starting from the waste, so upcycling, recycling, reconstructing garments on a small scale for now. When we talk about small business, we can start producing new garments, and we can start changing the habits of customers. And now there are examples in Europe of retails that are keeping back the garments when the client doesn't want to use it anymore. Yeah. The aim of the circular economy is to reduce the waste as much as possible, because actually all these studies are demonstrating that it's possible, and it is also profitable for the industry.
How do you feel about products such as the new Adidas sneakers that they use?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
My question was, then from that perspective, from the sort of economical model that you're talking about, how do you feel about the new Adidas sneakers, for example, that used waste from the oceans as plastic to thread a new sort of sneaker, new design, a model that they sold for a higher price, but in the same time, the technology behind it to get there is like sort of, what you pay for, and also the good cause, obviously. But how do you feel about that as a business model, which is something that has been emerging in fashion brands a lot, is that they do a sort of like a more exclusive line that is sort of environmentally friendly? Do you think that's more of a marketing gig, or is it more of a sort of to-do good project?
It's both. Anyway, for sure, the research that allow this company to recycle, to produce fabrics from plastics, it has a cost, no? So for sure. But what I think is that, of course, it could be cheaper, but I think it will take a long time to reduce probably the cost of that kind of fabrics, and even because probably we have to see who is going to invest in this kind of research. When you have, when you can invest, and when institutions, when governments decide to invest on research, on ecological research, maybe the community could benefit more from the results. And now we know that the owner of the big the economy are few all around the world. So what I think is that local institutions could be invest more on research. Then I think it's great that they can recycle the net, the plastics in the ocean, for sure. They have to, but they don't do only sneakers. If you do a research, you will see that there are a lot of amazing products, bags, not Nike, not Adidas, not big brands, because there are lots of companies working on this kind of research and fabrics, and they produce their line. Probably, so it's. Unfortunately, as customers, sometimes we don't have access to what actually we have on the market. We only see sometimes Nike or what you can see on the first research on Google. So it takes time, but I can say that the research on fabrics is really, really, really amazing. But you have to find also the industry willing to produce maybe a new fabric. For instance, in Italy, a young designer in the south of Italy has produced a fabric from oranges. Yes, she won a prize. Yes. But so it's sustainable and it's good. It looks like, I don't know, linen. I don't know. Which is the problem is that now she's not finding a company willing to create, the production process. On the other side, we have other projects like these, and that are going very well. I really trust in young generation because I see that they are really willing to find a new way to produce, to design, and to live with garments. And there's no. Okay, these are the kind of ways we can use. And so, for instance, sometimes we think that sustainable fashion is something not nice at all, like a bag, neutral colors. And if you go and have a look at Eco Chic Design Award, you will see that each year there are lots of young designers coming from all over the world proposing their collections which are made using recycling techniques like upcycling, zero waste design, and reconstruction design. And this award, Eco Chic, the award, he's developed in collaboration with a Chinese based in a Hong Kong company. And they are trying to establish a sustainable, a circular company, a closed circle where the company produces and then you return the garments when you don't want to use it anymore. And so what you see here are some examples of garments produced by using what you already can find in the market or in the storage of companies.
Caterina, we have another question here.
Oh.
Why is the recycled cloth or material more expensive than the virgin material?
It's sometimes it depends also from the certifications. You know, all these ecological fabrics, if you want to have the certification, it has a cost, and it affects all part of the final price. And so that's one of the point. And another point is that, well, as I was saying before, maybe we should think if the price that a sustainable product is asking us is the fair price for that product. Because we cannot compare that price with a fast fashion price. Of course, we cannot compare neither with a luxury brand. But I think that as customers, our perception of the value of the product is not real anymore. I think because what I think is that the problem is not the sustainable product is higher. The problem is that the majority of the garments we buy have a too much low price. That is good for us. We spend less, yes. we are going toward the end of the business of the planet. It's not really sustainable. A fashion system market where I pay €5 for a t-shirt. That's what we all repeat, but it's true. So what I would ask you, so why a t-shirt is so cheap? How can I pay only €5 for a t-shirt? There's something wrong. Probably the sustainable products, now they cost a bit more than they could cost because of marketing also, okay? But on the other side, how many times do we ask us why the price of a garment is such low? €5, €3, sometimes less. And we have bulk of that garments. It's not neither here. You know, sometimes when I go around here in Jordan, I see the prices of garments, and I say, "Wow, but it's very expensive." How could it be? Garments here are more expensive than in Italy. How is it possible? I'm not talking about imported garments. Okay, so no taxes, local, produced here. Why? I ask you, why they are more expensive than a Zara t-shirt? Because probably the person who made that garment put the fair cost for the time she put in the garment, the work, the experience, everything. What I wonder is, are we really willing to pay for the time that a person is putting in a garment, to make a garment? No, we cannot have everything. We cannot have cheap garments and safe planet. It's not me. It's not me that is saying that. No. So we should change point of view. Let's starting ask ourselves where our garments are coming from, how they are made, and which kind of fabric, where do they come from, and the composition. You know, as customers, we have a very high power, but we don't know. Really, we have, because all the garbage you see in the shops. For me, you can say luxury, medium, it's the same, because it's garbage when it's too much, because after a few months it will become garbage. So the question is if we keep buying garments every month, every 3 months, and then after 2 weeks we throw it away or we never use, things will never change, really. And so what I think is that we have as customers, and I want to use the word customer, not consumer, because I don't want to consume my garment. I want to live with my garment, as I live with my house, with my furniture. We don't value anymore our garments, our clothes anymore. If we think about our grandpa, father, no, in the past, they used to keep their clothes for years, for decades, renewing, changing. Also here, no, if I don't remember bad, you have a part of your traditional garment, the bust here, the chest, that women used to pass to change, to move from one garment to another. And I think it's amazing, it's beautiful, because it means that the cloth, the garment, is part of that person, represents that person. I want a garment that can represent me, not that can represent Prada, Gucci, Zara, H&M. I don't want to be an H&M walking on the street. And it's possible. What they are trying to make us believe is that it's not possible. No, it's not true. It's possible. We can wear what we like, and we can keep our garments as we wear our good friends. Why we don't throw away a table after 1 year? Tell me, why? So it's a perception. The perception of the garment, the cloth, has changed. They changed the perception we have. And nobody can change the situation apart us. We have the responsibility, we have the power to do that. So it means choose with responsibility. No? And try, maybe with one cloth, to buy one cloth, maybe more expensive, but that you really like, that you really feel it represents you, and try to keep it for more than 1 year, 2 years in your closet and use it. So
Yeah, we have 2 more minutes for questions if anyone would like to have.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Caterina, for a very inspiring talk. In the same line, I want to pay tribute to the first edition of the Amman Design Week. Last year, I saw a designer, a Jordanian designer, having studied in Italy and having now a boutique in New York, who brought a fabric that was recycling textiles and materials. I think, in a sense, you are advocating a revolution that goes far in the future, but at the same time you are, let's say, taking back a lot of elements that are in our common past, because I think it was customary, I mean, not to waste
Yes.
the fabric. For instance, I wonder whether you may say a few words about the role of a place in Italy like Prato, who, I mean, have grown up near Florence, who have, I mean, has become famous just for this somehow second-hand textile industry, which has become now one of the largest and most important in Italy. Probably this is based on sound, much more sound approach to this sustainability issue. Thank you.
yes, thank you. And yeah, yes, it's true. It's true. In Prato, we have this big district with second-hand garments, and you know what? I was telling to here before to a friend that every time I come here in Jordan, I don't know why, I find the air here something very inspiring, and I start having ideas on what we could do here in terms of recycling and waste, because of course all around the world we are going to that direction, but what I feel is that here it would be easier to start in that direction. Because in Europe, in Italy, the fashion system is a very solid and rigid structure, no? And it's difficult and hard to move, to transform something that is rooted, no? It's very deep. But what I think is that is easier. Starting, I don't want, not from zero, but because here I see there are several very interesting realities growing up. And I think it would be easier here deciding to go toward a new direction, more sustainable. You have companies here, for sure you have storage, you have wasted fabrics, so it's that's why every time I come here, they have denim. For sure they have failed garments. Why don't we take all the failed denim garments, we open them, and we work with local designers, because local designers, they work on customizing garments. Perfect. No, they say, movements say that producing on orders, no, customizing garments is sustainable. Yes, because you don't have to produce in advance. Great. So we have the designers, we have small companies, but that probably here are more flexible than the big companies that they have, but the big companies, maybe they have the storages. So why don't I always say we, I don't know, I'm here only for 3 days now, so you we need to create a network between local designers, institutions, schools, students, designers, international realities. No, we don't want to be closed. We have to be open.
Sorry, Caterina. For the sake of time, I'm going to have to stop you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this enriching talk. Thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you. Thank you to all, and thank you for having me. Bye-bye.